Hello, everybody, and welcome to Manga Mondays, the only manga review show with a constant threat of helicopter noise looming overhead. I'm your host, Digi Bro, and I am someone who buys lots of manga by volume and reads them physically, usually while taking a shit. And I don't read them online, and I don't stay caught up with anything. So this is going to be a show for out-of-date manga reviews of single volumes that most of you, if you cared about the series, read years ago, and don't care what I have to say about. But I'm going to try to talk about some interesting and fun manga that I've been reading, that I've been picking up from the store and checking out. And if you're the kind of person who goes out and buys manga like I am, maybe you'll find some of it interesting. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Cells at Work, which is essentially Osmosis Jones or Ozzy and Drix, but in manga form as opposed to a weird kind of shitty CG movie. It's about cells working inside the human body and doing their jobs. And it's presented as a over-the-top action comedy. Like, this is like page one. Shit's exploding. Shit's going on. I would actually compare the comedic tone of this to, like, One Punch Man or something like that, where there's, like, all these, like, supervillain, like, big shonen, monsters attacking, and the main characters have to fight them off. There's quite a bit of blood sometimes. It's pretty fun and utterly chaotic. The most noteworthy thing about this manga is that there's just a ton of detail and a lot of shit going on at basically all times. And the artwork is great, but there's just so much that sometimes it can actually be difficult to process. You really have to take your time with each page. And there's also constant, like, notations about the human body and what each, like, cell or character does, because all of these are literally personifications of bodily functions and like cells and different things inside your body. None of them is like just a human kind of character living inside of the body. They're just literally the cells doing the job of cells, but presented in a way that's comprehensible to a human being. But, like, for instance, the white blood cell, who's pretty much the main character, his mission is to kill viruses, and that's just all he does. Like, he is just a killing machine. He just goes around and murders evil alien-looking virus monsters, and that's, like, his whole fucking thing. And then there's scenes where, say, a virus outbreak and a bunch of, like, mutagens and, like, antiviruses are all coalescing into just these huge, chaotic maelstroms of shit going on. The whole thing is just, like, a non-stop explosion. There's never, like, a dull page. There's never characters standing around talking about something. Not a thing. The whole thing is just like, each chapter will start off, a virus gets into the body, all the cells are freaking out, everything gets destroyed, just chaos at all times. And because, they're cells, there's hundreds of thousands of them. So there's often chapters where, even though these two cells are sort of focused on as main characters, they're not special. They're just another, like, her name is Red Blood Cell and his name is White Blood Cell. They are not, like, named characters who are distinct from the rest that are out there. They're just one of thousands of these cells. So, like, when there's a reason for them to all be in one place, you'll just see, like, 100,000 fucking characters all doing the same thing. Nothing is special about these guys. But there's just a lot of creativity in the way that they personify the different bodily functions and what they do. For instance, platelets, because platelets are smaller cells, are all lollies, and they're all, like, on a school field trip looking at all times, and they just act super adorable, but then they're also, like, they have the powers of platelets, so when their job is necessary, then they can be the most powerful guys around. And yeah, it's overall very entertaining. I would say that this thing is worth reading entirely for the concept and execution of that concept, but there's no real story, there's no real characters. It's just about watching cells fight monsters. That's the whole thing. It's just action and humor. Like, no one in it is, like, a standout memorable character, and in a way that's kind of the point, because each of them is just fulfilling their job as part of the human body. They're all part of this one organism. They're all just cogs in the machine, which is why it sells at work. It is not them doing anything else other than work. And their work just happens to involve, here's a, well, you know what? I don't want to spoil that. I was going to show something, but I don't want to spoil too many details about what happens, because it's the kind of manga that you turn a page and you see something really outrageous happening, and that's a lot of the fun of it, is just that it's, every page you turn, something new and crazy and inventive will be happening, and it's uber dense. There's just so much going on. It can be tiring at times, just the sheer level of, like if you look at this page, we've got like 4 different boxes just explaining what those characters do, like what their function is in the body. Like, this is borderline edutainment. Whoever wrote this either did a shitload of research or was a doctor, because they know everything about the human body and what all these functions do, and it's constantly explaining those things, which is, like, on the one hand, I feel like this would be an awesome anime because it's so action-packed, and if it was done with the style of something like One Punch Man, it would be a really, like, fun, kinetic experience. But then the actual experience of reading it takes a long time, because there's so much text just explaining what's happening, like what all of this is a metaphor for. Fucking helicopters. They're just like landing on my house right now, it sounds like. They're coming to take away my mangas. Anyway, Cells at Work's a pretty good time. I enjoyed reading it just for how out there it was. Like, it's not the kind of series that I got, like, deeply invested in. Again, there's no real story or characters. It's just about watching wacky stuff happen. And if you're someone who enjoys that kind of story, by all means, pick this one up. If you want something a little bit more, like, heartfelt or emotional or anything, this is not at all something to come to. It is pretty matter-of-fact about itself. And that's the first Manga Monday. Come back next Monday for more manga from me.